I'm not making that up. You can't make that up. Uh, it is. Hey, and you know what? Politically, most of the situation, you can't make this stuff. I wish we were making it up, but sometimes trying to find the sense in decision making with government is confusing at best. But I got to tell you, sometimes the thought process I don't understand. So Shelley Simonton is the head coach of Nexxice, is going to explain what's happening with her team that is going to be competing and has competed for world championships in synchronized skating, and yet it's not being recognized as elite. And by definition, if you're in the world championships, isn't that the ultimate in elite? I don't get it. So now we go to Shelley Simonton here this morning. Good morning, Shelley.
Good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me on your show.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you here this morning. Your background, obviously, at the highest level of skating, and the team that you have, and we'll just explain it. Nexxice is exactly what for those listening here this morning?
Nexxice is a synchronized skating team that represents Canada. We're based in the Golden Horseshoe area. And we're a team of 25 athletes who skate synchronized skating, which is just a group of 16 athletes on the ice at the same time, doing a combination of things that are like, they borrow from single skating, dance, ice dance, pairs, free skate pairs. And then we have some of our own things that we do, that, like formations, etc.
Now, Nexxice is not a local in terms of anyone can show up. We're looking for members who want to participate, like local theater. This is where people come from. Do they come from all over the world to be part of this team? Like, just where do they come from? Because I would assume to make this team, you pretty much have to be, quite frankly, to use the word, an elite skater.
Exactly. We do draw from all around the world. We've skaters from Wales, Australia, Turkey, Europe, across Canada, and then in our own local area as well. But it is very competitive to get on the team. They have to have a certain elite level of skating.
So the government, because we have a world championships coming up in our backyard here in Hamilton. So, you know, getting the hours on the ice, this might be the most crucial time that you have. But what have you learned from the provincial government that has made this, quite frankly, and our good friend Steve Milty wrote about it in The Spectator, what has happened?
Well, starting on January 2nd, or 4th rather, we were not allowed to train anymore. And so we've been off the ice since then. And except if you want to count outdoor ice, the girls have been going out to skate on Coots Paradise and places like that. But yes, we've been kept off the ice. We have been training on Zoom off ice, but that's it. So, and this is a critical time, as you say.
How do you train on Zoom? How does that happen? I can't believe that's a thing.
It's been a thing for 2 years, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Off and on. Yes, we do a lot of ballet training, dance training, fitness, and some just different exercises, mental exercises, etc., to just keep focused.
Now, Canada is the only country in the synchronized skating world who does not consider the discipline to be elite level. Now, this is a skating country. We have had some of the best ice dancers, solo skating, singles. I mean, you name it. Skating is something that we understand, and we know how difficult it is to compete at the world level. So how can, of all countries, Canada be the only country that doesn't recognize this? I find I'm just flabbergasted.
Well, we've kind of flown under the radar for a long time. Actually, we've been maybe we're not an Olympic sport, and I think that does have something to do with it. If you look at the regulations that were written by the government, they expressly allowed Olympic athletes to compete or to continue to train, but we do not fall under that.
So because of the World Championship coming up, and you're training in every available possibility, whether it's outside and Zoom. What is this insinuation about having to train in Calgary? How did that come up?
Well, our Canadian national championships are coming up in February, and we have to be ready because the other two senior teams in Canada are in Quebec, and they are allowed on the ice now. The government did grant them an exception. So we are going to have to be competing against them and in shape. And we have to go to Calgary. We have no choice. We needed to find ice. We bounced around going to Buffalo, but decided that was not, we can't do that. And so that was the only alternative.
So who would pay for where's that cost come from? I mean, obviously going to Calgary would not be free.
No, the skaters are absorbing it.
Well, when you have to argue this, I mean, it must be an exhausting process, because to me, it just absolutely does not make sense. As I said, look, if this were, I don't know, Ireland, maybe they, unless you were doing Irish dancing, synchronized skating, maybe, like, I don't know how what is their response when you say we are elite skaters, because it's obvious that you are?
Well, we've had a lot of support this time around, and there seems to be some conversation going on. And so I know we're not the only elite sport that's frustrated by this. It was just some policy that was formulated back in stage 2, and it wasn't adjusted, even though we were flagged as being an elite team. So yeah, I'm hoping that something will come of this. Certainly, we've had a lot more coverage this time. Well,
making your argument easier would be, of course, if this were in the Olympics. And I'm kind of surprised, considering the nature of this, athletic endeavor, the sport itself. I'm really kind of surprised that it's not, because it seems to be, to me, it more than a lot of other sports I've seen in the Olympics, this is actually a natural for the Winter Olympics, is it not?
It is, but then we have a large contingent that would go. Our teams consist of 20 athletes and management and coaching. And they've said, the IOC has said that they just don't have room for such a big team sport. So I think we're trying, the ISU is trying to limit the amount of skaters on a team. I believe they're looking at 12 skating rather than 16 right now, in an attempt to get us into the 2026 Olympics.
Now, if those numbers were altered, and again, I'm sort of, my jaw dropping open that now we're going to argue about the size of a team. Well, then if I look at the Summer Olympics, they don't say to rugby teams or field hockey teams or basketball teams or water polo teams, I'm sorry, you have just too many. Can you do it with less? I don't see that in other sports, but I guess apparently it would have to be a numbers game. If you go from 16 to 12 in terms of the sport itself,
right?
Is that doable? Is that doable for you? Is that fair?
I think it's better than doable. I think we'll be a faster, more aggressive, not aggressive, but we'll be faster. And we certainly will have even better athletes out there on the ice at the same time. So I think that'll improve the sport.
So it'll become that much more difficult, obviously, to make a team because there's less spots.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Shelley, if people are listening and will be watching this later today on Twitter, if they want to help out, like, is there a way to actually show your support of this sport, of this team, in order to get some sense of change? Is there a way of doing that?
Some people have been petitioning the government, and that's been very helpful. And we've heard voices in the media. So yes, if anybody can please speak up on our behalf or on the behalf of the other elite sports that are not included in this most recent policy, then it would be very appreciated. It would be helpful.
Yeah, I think anything that you can do is helpful, just any sort of support. But just so you know, Nexxice is a 2-time world champion, the first Canadian team to win a world championships in 2009, world silver medalist 3 times, 4 times bronze medalist, 17 international medals, and 11-time Canadian champions. That's not elite. Look, I wasn't a great student. Ryerson was happy when they kind of kicked me out. But even I can see these kinds of numbers and these kinds of accolades and say, if they ask me a question in university, Is that elite? Yeah. Yeah, that's elite. I believe that it too. I just, well, hopefully we can get some sort of change for you and your terrific team. You know, when I look at what goes into it, and look, we have the battle of the stars, the skating stars, the thing that does the stars on ice, the thing that the CBC does. And so you have like kind of big, tough NHL hockey individuals who have to figure skate for like the first time. And you, and they will tell you to a man that it's the hardest thing they ever had to do. And they're kind of glad they chose hockey instead of figure skating. They go, because Mike, it is damn hard what they have to do. And that's just two. Add another 15 people to that to coordinate that kind of, well, as it says, synchronized skating. It is, and people love it. Like this is not like it's an obscure thing for people. If it was part of an ice capades or you paid money to see it at Scotiabank, people would show up because they appreciate the artistry of it, which is one thing. But then there's the athleticism, which is why we define this as elite athletes. It's kind of a no-brainer, which is why I'm a little puzzled by all of this. But Shelley, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. I certainly wish you the best of luck. And I'll be honest, I really hope I see this in the Olympics, because there are things, quite honestly, that make way less sense than seeing something like this. And I know that Canadians at heart, because we love the artistry on the ice, it's a thing of beauty to actually watch as well. I really hope at some point I see you guys in the Olympics.
Thank you, Mike. And it does have great potential. I do too. Yes.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, and thanks for joining me here this morning.
Thank you.
That is Shelley Simonton, once again, head coach of Nexxice. It is mind-boggling to think the level of what it takes to be in a sport like that. And as I said, what do they call that thing? I couldn't even, Battle of the Blades. There you go. Battle of the Blades.